Funnily enough, I didn't plan to create this video at this time. I'm just working on a book project. I'm editing a book project. As you can see, I'm editing a book project. And then I came across this phrase, funny enough. It is also one of the most denied. Now, this expression, funny enough, or this phrase, funny enough, most recently has been said to be outright wrong, especially by modern age English teachers or language coaches. Now, is this true? Well, I think they're partly right and partly not right. Both expressions, both phrases, funny enough and funny enough, are permissible in that you can use funny enough and you can as well use funnily enough. However, the phrase funnily enough is the more standard expression. As a matter of fact, it is the standard expression. Funnily enough is standard. Funnily enough, as I have in this book, in this project, is incorrect or is incorrectly used. Right. You use funnily enough in formal situations or at a formal event. Usually in books, when you're writing, you're at a formal event or at a formal gathering, you use funnily enough in your speech and in your writing. But when it comes to just speaking casually, you use funny enough. You'd have noticed I started this video, I did say funny enough. I didn't plan to make this video. Now you notice that in that expression, there was no antecedent. I just started the video by saying funny enough. Now here's where it gets interesting. Now that's where the meaning or the contextual usage of funny enough comes in. With funny enough, you don't have a surprising situation. You don't have an ironic situation. You simply just, you just funny enough as an appendage, as extra words to say the same thing. You want to say the same thing, but you're adding funny enough to that thing you want to say. Like, I just want to say, I'm thirsty. I can simply say, funny enough, I'm thirsty. Now, there is no situation, there is no antecedent before the occasion or the situation of my thirst, right? Or my thirstiness. I'm just simply saying, funny enough, everywhere is cold, right? I can say, funnily enough, everywhere is cold. When you want to say something, oh, my sister is here. Oh, funny enough, my sister is here. Whatever you want to say, I'm working on a book. Funny enough, I'm working on a book. So for whatever you want to say, you can decide to add funny enough to the beginning of every expression you want to make. But that is not the case for funnily enough. There are two instances in which you can use funnily enough, which of course is the formal expression in this case. You use funnily enough in ironic situations. You must have two things to talk about. Now, usually the second expression or the second situation is always ironic of the first. For example, you want to talk about somebody who didn't like mathematics but ended up becoming an accountant. Jane didn't like mathematics. Funnily enough, she became an accountant. Did you see that? She didn't prepare for the exams. Funnily enough, she came out on top of the class. So that is one instance in which you use funnily enough. It's standard both in speech and in writing. However, as I say, contextually, you use it when you're talking about ironic situation. And also, the second instance in which you can use funnily enough is when you want to talk about a sudden or abrupt surprise. When what you want to talk about is completely unexpected. Right. Now, let's say you were supposed to catch up with an airplane at 8 o'clock. You're supposed to be at the airport at 8 o'clock. But you got there at 8:30, for example. And surprisingly, the flight was cancelled, and so you could still meet up with the schedule later, for a later time. So in other words, funnily enough is the appropriate phrase to use, and not funny enough. Like I said, funny enough is informal. It's informal, while funnily enough is the formal expression. So both are correct depending on how you use them. Yes, depending on how you use them. What else do I want to say? What else do I want to say? Yes, so that's basically it. Like I did say, funny enough is just an appendage, is an extra word. It's just an extra expression or an extra phrase that you add to whatever you want to say. Funny enough, I am working on the book right now. Funny enough, I'm swinging on the chair. So I hope this has helped you to understand that the phrase funnily enough is permissible, just like funnily enough is also permissible. However, one is formal while the other is informal. Yeah, remember, if anything, keep speaking right and keep learning right. See you next time. Peace out.